Good morning, everybody. This is preparation for our final class on Tuesday, and this will be a relatively short description. Just have a few things to prepare us for as we say goodbyes. So we're going to do two exercises on Tuesday. First is a Rule 5 exercise, and then a good goodbye exercise. So the Rule 5 exercise first. We talked a little bit about Rule 5, but essentially the idea of Rule 5 is when you're working with a client to create functional descriptions that describe your client's CRB2s and their consequences. In other words, when a client engaged in a CRB2 and you responded with Rule 3 or reinforcement, you want to spend some time with the client, helping the client see those patterns and those relations. And this is also called CRB3s in FAP when the client does this, him or herself. But when you're working with the client to do this, we'll call that Rule 5. The idea really is that the client can take the lessons that were learned in therapy with you, quote, on the road into his or her life to facilitate generalization. That's what Rule 5 is all about. So I don't want you to be too obsessive about how to do Rule 5. Rule 5 can be technical behavior analytic rules or descriptions where you specify with precision the antecedent and the behavior and the consequence. But they can also be more creative ways of describing it, metaphors or poetry or songs, really whatever works for the client to make what happened in the session salient and memorable. It could also be in the form of a mission statement where you write something more globally about what you want your life to be about and what you've learned and what all of this means, something deeper like that. The question really is what works for your client or for you? What is a way to make this lesson, this experience, come alive and be memorable such that you or the client will remember it out in the real world? And so for our purposes, we want to do Rule 5 with respect to our own growth in this course over the past 9 weeks. So I want to ask you all to think about your own growth in this course over the past 9 weeks, the work that we've done together, the work that we've done in our groups and in our meetings with each other. Take 2 minutes right now, if you're willing, to contemplate what for you in your life are the most important CRB2s that you've cultivated in this course. How have you tried new things and stepped outside of your comfort zone? I encourage you to write down these CRB2s. Now, we've already talked a lot about this. We've done these case conceptualizations, but this is your chance to summarize all of this in one simple place. Another way to think about it is, what are you taking away from this course? How will you be different in your life and work based on our experiences that we've done together? And also because we really want to think about not just your behavior, but how people have responded to your behavior. We're thinking about functional relations, a relation between your behavior and consequences. It's helpful to try to specify, excuse me, in this Rule 5 description, the full relation. How have others in this course responded to your CRB2s? So for example, when you've expressed emotions, have others provided safety? That's an obvious, simple example using our model, but you could write anything you want. Sticking to the model, of course, would be fine. So what I would like to ask you to do before our session on Tuesday is write down some kind of summary, functional description. And I gave you a Rule 5 handout last week. I'll send it again this week. Look at all those functional description examples if you would like. You will see that some of those examples are very technical behavior analytic examples, but then others are much more creative, metaphorical, or poetic. And then you also will see some examples of mission statements. And so we really tried in that Rule 5 handout to show a variety of different styles so you can sort of find what feels most meaningful for you. There's no one right way to do this. How can you best express yourself? Most people actually do pick something more metaphorical or poetic and less technical, but you may pick something technical, and that's fine also. So take some time, if you're willing, to try to think back on this whole course, how you've grown, what CRB2s have been shaped, what you're taking away, how others have responded. Try to summarize it in a simple sentence or two or three. And then on Tuesday, we'll share what we've come up with each other and respond to each other. So that's the Rule 5 exercise. The second exercise is our good goodbye exercise. And I want you to have a couple of choices here, but this is essentially each person will have a chance to say something final to the group. So one option is that it could be what I like to call a good goodbye. And I want to give you my explanation for good goodbyes for just a minute here. So if you think about how relationships end in our lives, you may come to the realization that we rarely say goodbye well. Think about all the reasons why relationships end. Sometimes they end because we are upset or angry with each other. And so not only is there not a good goodbye, it ends in anger or frustration. Sometimes relationships just sort of fade away. We don't realize they're going to end, and so we don't have a chance to say goodbyes. Or sometimes we know they're going to end, but we're avoidant of the emotional feelings of saying goodbye, and so we pretend the relationship isn't going to end. We'll say things like, I'm sure we'll see each other. I know this isn't really a goodbye. I'll be in touch on Facebook. But if a little part of you, or maybe a big part of you, sort of knows that's probably not true. Sometimes relationships end suddenly where we don't have a chance to say goodbye, as if somebody dies. So what I want us to do now is consider the possibility that we have a chance now to say goodbye well to each other. It very well may be the case that some of us will see each other again in the future, and I certainly hope so. But for the purposes of this exercise, I would like us to consider the possibility and imagine the possibility that we will really never see each other again, that this is really goodbye. And with that, how do you want to say goodbye? How do you want to show up and speak from your heart so people really know how you feel about them and what's been important? So that's this idea of a good goodbye. And I want to ask you to choose to say goodbye to someone in the group, or to multiple people in the group, or to the whole group. It's your choice. But to consider this idea that when do we ever really say a good goodbye? And this is your opportunity. Now, this is the idea of a good goodbye. That's sort of the deep dive, the hardest option here. You don't have to do that. You don't have to imagine you're never going to see each other again. You could just more simply express an appreciation to somebody, or to some people, or to the whole group, if that is more what you would like to do. You don't need to go really deep into the good goodbye. It's just an option. But you're going to have a chance to either say a good goodbye to someone in the group, or express an appreciation to someone or to multiple people in the group. Just a way of us putting a bow on our relationship and saying goodbye to each other in whatever ways are important to us. I encourage you to perhaps write something down in preparation, or if you would prefer, to simply speak from your heart during the session without writing something down in preparation. It's your choice. So that's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do these two exercises. We'll have time for a few other things, and we'll respond to each other's wrist logs. And that will be our session on Tuesday. Okay. I hope you all have a good couple days, and see you soon.